Imagine a world where the person you trust the most, the one who's supposed to protect and care for you, becomes your worst nightmare. This is the story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, a young woman whose life was overshadowed by her mother's relentless control and abuse. Today, we're going to look at a case that shocked the world by combining the themes of abuse, manipulation, and ultimately murder. Gypsy Rose's story begins long before the crime that landed her in prison. Born in 1991, she was raised by her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, who from the outside appeared to be a devoted and loving caregiver. Gypsy was diagnosed with a number of serious health problems, including leukemia, muscular dystrophy, and epilepsy, which left her confined to a wheelchair and dependent on her mother for daily care. But over the years, strange inconsistencies began to appear in Gypsy's medical history. In reality, Dee Dee had fabricated nearly all of Gypsy's illnesses as part of a rare and disturbing condition known as Munchausen's syndrome by proxy. In such cases, a caregiver, often a parent, induces or fabricates medical conditions in another person, usually a child, to gain sympathy and attention. Over the years, Dee Dee isolated Gypsy and convinced everyone around her that her daughter was seriously ill. But Gypsy knew the truth. She could walk, she wasn't dying, and her mother's stories were lies. Over time, Gypsy's frustration grew, along with a desperate desire for freedom. She wasn't just trapped in a wheelchair, she was trapped in a life dictated by her mother's every whim. Dee Dee controlled everything: her interactions, her relationships, and her dreams. Even when Gypsy tried to escape, Dee Dee's manipulations kept her dependent and unable to live a life of her own. But despite her mother's control, Gypsy found a way to reach out to the outside world: the internet. Online, she met Nicholas Godejohn, a young man who shared her feelings of isolation and longing for freedom. Their relationship quickly escalated as they bonded over their shared struggles. Through this relationship, Gypsy began to see a path to escape, a way to break free from her mother's grip once and for all. As Gypsy confided in Nicholas about her life, their conversations grew darker. In her mind, the only way to free herself was to eliminate her abuser. Gypsy and Nicholas devised a plan that would put an end to Dee Dee's control over her life. In June 2015, Nicholas traveled to Gypsy's home, and together they carried out a plan that ended with Dee Dee's murder. It was a decision Gypsy believed was the only way to secure her freedom, but one that ultimately landed her in prison. The crime shocked not only the small town where they lived, but the world, which had been captivated by Gypsy and Dee Dee's story of a courageous mother caring for a sick child. That story quickly unraveled, revealing a disturbing tale of abuse and manipulation that had been hidden in plain sight. As details of the case came to light, the public was torn. Was Gypsy a cold-blooded killer or a victim pushed to her breaking point? During her trial, Gypsy's legal team argued that she had been the victim of severe abuse, manipulated and brainwashed, to the point where she felt she had no choice. Experts testified about the effects of Munchausen's syndrome by proxy, explaining how Dee Dee's actions had kept Gypsy not only physically restrained, but also psychologically dependent. Although Gypsy had participated in planning the murder, many people began to see her as a victim of circumstance rather than a criminal mastermind. Gypsy's story resonated with people around the world, leading to discussions about parental abuse, psychological manipulation, and the challenges faced by those trapped in abusive situations. The case highlighted the limitations of our understanding of abuse, especially when it's hidden behind the mask of caregiving. Gypsy's experience illustrated the psychological toll of such manipulation and the despair that can result from feeling powerless. After a long legal battle, Gypsy accepted a plea deal for her involvement and received a 10-year sentence. Nicholas, who physically committed the murder, was sentenced to life in prison. Many people believe that Gypsy's punishment was more lenient because of the extraordinary abuse she endured. And there's an ongoing debate about whether justice was truly served in her case. For some, Gypsy was as much a victim as her mother, a young woman whose life was stolen from her long before the crime. Since her conviction, Gypsy has tried to rebuild her life. From behind bars, she's expressed remorse for her role in the murder, while acknowledging the psychological freedom she's gained from being freed from her mother's control. She's participated in documentaries and interviews, sharing her story in hopes of raising awareness about the hidden forms of abuse and the devastating effects they can have. The case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a powerful reminder of the complex dynamics within abusive relationships and the psychological damage that can occur. It challenges our perceptions of victimhood and raises important questions about accountability, mental health, and the invisible struggles of those who suffer behind closed doors. Gypsy's story underscores the need for greater understanding and support for those in similar situations who may feel trapped, powerless, and alone. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of one of the most disturbing and thought-provoking cases of our time. The story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard continues to captivate audiences, not only for its shocking twists and turns, but also for the profound questions it raises about abuse, freedom, and justice. If you're interested in exploring more cases that shine a light on the dark side of human relationships and the hidden traumas behind closed doors, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.